Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Aisha Grevenberg, but everyone calls me Miss Aisha. So, Miss Aisha, and I am so excited to have you here this afternoon. We are going to be discussing reclaiming our well being. Now, I did not say ask, I did not say be nice, I did not say be meek. I said reclaim. We are reclaiming our mental health. This is a space for Black women to be seen, to be validated, and to be heard. And so, before we even get started, definitely thank you to the American Heart Association for putting this together for us. So, welcome to this space. I'm so excited you're here. So, my experience has been 20 years, 20 years serving primarily Black women and communities of color. So, I've dedicated my life and my career to the issues that we're going to discuss today. So it's so important that you're here, you're relaxed, and you are engaged. We have an amazing panel that we're going to bring in and that we're going to discuss. So let's talk about this Black History Month. What we need to realize and address that as Black women, we have dealt with racial injustice in the past 2 years. We've dealt with a global pandemic that has impacted us in ways that it did not impact other groups. And we have to be clear and be honest about that. What we experienced as a group, as a collective, was very different than what other groups experienced. And that has to be clear. And we also deal with our heart health as well as our mental health, understanding that these are siblings. They're not related by marriage. They're not first cousins. They are related. They're related. And when we are struggling, when our minds are struggling, our bodies are struggling as well. And we're going to talk about heart health and cardiovascular health and why that's so important to our community. And I didn't know this stuff. I didn't know. And so I'm so excited to have this conversation. So, what we're going to really settle into is in 1937, Zora Neale Hurston, 1937, said that Black women are the mules of the earth. Black women are the mules of the earth. She said that in 1937, and it couldn't be more true today. It was true 100 years before she said it. We know that we carry this country on our back. We carry our families, our children, our schools on our backs. So for this morning, we're going to put that cape down. We're going to come together and we're just going to be. We're just going to be with each other. And with that being said, let's introduce our amazing panel. I'm so excited for you to meet them. We have Jasmine Watkins. Come on up. Let's see Miss Jasmine Watkins.
Hello,
Hey, hey,
how are
how are
you?
you?
I'm
Good
great.
to
How are
see you.
you?
Good to see you. We also have Latasha Morgan. Hey, hey.
Hey, hey, good to see you. Hello, everyone out there.
Hello. I love this red. And last but not least, we have Andrea Edwards. Come on up, Miss Andrea.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. I love to see these beautiful smiling faces. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you for having
Okay, so let's get into it. So we're gonna just talk, just girlfriends, just having a conversation, nice and warm. I will be asking you some questions just to talk about your roles and what you do in life. I'm very interested in how you manage stress and how you manage your health. So we're going to start with that. But the conversation we're going to have is going to have three themes. We have to talk about the pressure that we experience as Black women to be perfect in every way, every single day, all the time. There is no space for us to make any mistake ever, never. There's no room for us to say we're tired, to say we're overwhelmed, and so we're going to discuss that. We're also going to discuss, and this is me putting me on blast because I had no idea what heart disease was for us. I had no idea until 2 days ago when I was studying for this. So we'll talk about what is the barrier. All of us are educated women. Like what is the barrier? And then lastly, we'll talk about how do we get our mental health and our physical health to be the siblings that they are, and not the first cousins and second cousins, third removed that we think they are. So Andrea, let's start with you. I want you to tell us your name. I want you to rep your city, and then let us know the different roles that you play.
Sure. So again, thank you so much for having me. I also want to take the opportunity to acknowledge American Heart Association for putting this on as well.
Mhm.
As you mentioned, my name is Andrea Edwards. I identify as a clinician. I work with the child welfare programs in the New York metro area. I certainly cannot go without repping country and the culture where I'm from, which is Jamaica. So I identify as Afro-Caribbean Black woman.
Okay.
One of the things that I think it's also important to say as far as roles, and we'll probably talk a lot about this, is that Black women holds a number of different roles, right? So over the
Yeah.
years, despite just a clinician and just working very hard also in the child welfare area, I hold a role as mom and daughter, cousin, an older
Mhm.
cousin, which again, that speaks profoundly in our culture and just what positioning and age, also a graduate, right, of course, and how that is impactful. But more importantly, I do identify as a family woman, and that has been a key component of my life, and particularly probably led me to a lot of the areas and things that I will discuss throughout our time here. So again, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Andrea. And what do you think you want to highlight? The most important thing you want to highlight in this discussion?
I think one of the probably primarily things that I do want to highlight is racial disparity in the health system. I think you
Mm-hmm.
highlighted that a little bit or alluded to a lot of that, Aisha, earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but particularly as it relates to heart health and going to the physician and having very simple conversations. And I think things that you mentioned just learning 2 days ago, right? Where's the racial disparity where a lot of Black women who probably do go to doctor annually have not heard a lot of this information from their own physician, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an area that I'd like to highlight a lot in this sort of discussion, as well as what does culture or how does culture
Mm-hmm.
play a part in this as well?
I'm so glad you said that because I thought I knew a lot. I'm in the doctor all the time in his face asking questions, and I thought I knew, but I'm glad that I stepped into humility that I didn't
Absolutely,
know. I
absolutely,
didn't know. So
absolutely.
definitely, thank you. We're going to be discussing that. Miss Jasmine, where are you from? Rep your city.
Okay. Well, initially, I'm from the Bronx, New York. I can't forget about my roots. No, but I'm currently residing in Shelton, Connecticut, which is about an hour and a half from the city.
Mhm.
I've been teaching 18 years in the Bronx. I teach elementary school this year. I'm teaching first grade, but my range goes all the way from first to fifth. I am a mother of three. I have a set of twin boys who are 8, and I have a
Mhm.
daughter who's 16. So pray for me. I'm also a caretaker to my mother, and I'm an only child. So I'm doing that, pretty much myself and my husband, just us. And I'm a dance coach at my
Oh.
school.
Okay, so basically you're telling us you have no personal time and that you're busy all the time and you
Always,
have all these different hats, all these different roles.
right?
Okay.
Got a
What's
hat,
the
a
most
beret, everything you can think of.
it sounds like it, and it sounds like you don't have any time. So thank you for creating the time to be with us this morning. So what is the most important thing you want to get out of this conversation or you want to highlight?
I would like to highlight that self care is not selfish, and
Mm,
that we need to empower ourselves to take care of ourselves and do the things that feel good to us while not learning how to say no, all of that.
okay, you know that's going to be hard. You know when black women saying no, it's going to be tough, but we have to learn, we have to get away from being nice. No more
Boundaries
nice.
are so important. And I think
No
that
more nice.
we feel like we're not allowed to have boundaries. So that's definitely something that I would like to talk about today.
Thank you. Thank you. And Latasha, how are you? Rep your city. Let's know what
I'm
these roles are.
Yes, I'm doing fabulous. As mentioned, my name is Latasha Morgan. I was born and raised in Harlem, New York. So Harlem all the way, baby. I am really inspired to be here today and just to talk a little bit about, myself. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of two beautiful children. I am a person that works within my community, which is like personal work to me because it is centered in the heart of Harlem. I'm a community engagement director. I'm also a very active member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, which takes a lot of my time and I love it. And I'm also an inspiring leader, right? Really out there trying to inspire others to to lead in a different way so that we can help, you know, our people.
You know what? I'm so glad that you mentioned that. We have a lovely Zeta on the panel. We have a lovely Delta on the panel, and I'm an AKA, very proud AKA. Yes,
I
yes.
love it.
So
I
we
love
have
it.
Divine Nine is in the
Yes.
building, definitely, and it's such a an honor for us to really represent our organizations and what they mean, and the Black
Absolutely.
women that we represent over 100 years of service.
That's right.
So I'm glad.
Absolutely.
I'm definitely glad.
Yes.
And so let's hop right into the first theme of how we are the mule, how we really, and isn't that that image, right, of carrying everything and expect it to keep going. No tired, no break, no rest.
Mhm.
And I said before that even when we're alone, we don't allow ourselves to sit still.
Yes.
Just no
Amen.
one there in the house,
That's
no
right.
Yes.
one with us,
Yes.
and we won't allow ourselves to sit still.
Yes.
So Andrew, I want to start with you.
Sure.
How do you balance the expectation to be perfect? How do you manage that?
I think you mentioned a key point, Aisha, right? That even when we're alone and by ourselves, we still do find ourselves still going and trying, what do I do next? What do I think
Yeah.
next? How do I do this next? Right. And I think that's why it's so important initially to find a sense of expectation and boundary internally. Right. I think you're going to have expectations externally that comes from, and we talked about the many different roles that we have and held. So there are going to be expectations there. I think internally you have to determine I am good enough and I am well enough first. That's number one. And then two, being able to determine what is my sort of my cap, my capacity, and being able to find a healthy capacity and balance with that. And I think that's a part where it starts, and it takes time because I don't think that's something that it you determine within a matter of seconds or minutes or even weeks or months. It is practice and is exercising. How do I implement an expectation that is realistic, that is based upon the capacity that I can be able to do? And then it also allow me not to only be healthy for myself, but those who I do care for externally, whether it be my family or my job or my community. So I think that expectation, you have to find a realistic expectation internally for starting. What is my capacity? And whatever I do for others, I am going to do it and do it well. And I don't have to go beyond where my glass is full, so to speak.
Mm. So you want us to focus on ourselves and not on this external expectation that has been placed upon us.
For sure. And I think also the expectation that we then put on ourselves, right?
Right.
I think you mentioned something earlier about no more being nice. And I would even
Mm-hmm.
probably reframe that and say, be nice to yourself first, right? Be nice to
Mm-hmm.
yourself first. And that will
Mm-hmm.
dictate everything else. Because if
Mm-hmm.
I'm nice to myself first and I am able to determine what is healthy for me, what is right for me, how am I healthy mentally, emotionally, physically, right? That dictates how I would be able to do my next steps. But if I don't identify what is being nice for me first, then that's where the difficulty comes in, right? Where I don't focus on myself and how I can be well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that and for bringing this part of the discussion to us,
Yeah.
to ourselves first. So Jazz, how do you as an educator, and educators have been at the forefront of this pandemic since it started. You really have become a first responder in every sense of the word. So
Absolutely.
how have you managed those performance expectations?
So it was weird in the beginning. It was kind of like, just go in, teach the kids, whatever happens, happens. It was so laid back because it was something new that we were all doing. When we had to transition from teaching in person to teaching remotely, many of us that have been teaching for years, like we got stuck. We didn't know what to do because some people weren't tech savvy. Some people just we're used to the connection that you build with the kids, and that's very hard to do over the computer. So it was definitely something that for a lot of us, we kind of froze, we lost ourselves, we defined ourselves by our job. And so when your job changes and you no longer feel like you're doing a good job, now that kind of affects how you look at yourself. And so shortly before the pandemic hit, I actually lost my dad. And that's when I became the caretaker for my mother. And so during that time, I kind of froze. And so I'm eating everything. I'm managing my stress the wrong way. I put on about 45 pounds in like 3 months. And then I had to just stop and say, you know what, this doesn't feel good. I'm not, doing what I need to do. So finally, I found outlets during that time, that first year of pandemic, that really helped me to kind of get a hold of myself and even how I view life, the profession, because now I don't feel as, you know, poor. Like if I'm not doing something the way it's supposed to be done or the expectations aren't being met, it doesn't feel as hard on me because at the end of the day, I know I gave what I could give. This year, I think it's a little bit different because the boundaries have changed now that we are back in the building full time. So you are around the children that are exposed to COVID all of the time. We're dealing with pre-COVID expectations in a post-COVID world, and so the empathy and that we had, the leniency that we had last year because everybody was figuring it out. Now it's like, okay, you had a year to figure it out. Go back to what's going on with these test scores. Why don't things look the way they're supposed to look? And then you're dealing with the slide. Students did not learn the same remotely as they did in person. So now it's almost as though you have to catch up where they already are in addition to the loss that they have. So in terms of myself, I think in the beginning, I always, looked at things in terms of what I was able to do for the children, where they came in, the progress that they made. And I judge myself based off of those things. And now I'm just like, am I going in every day and giving 100% of the best that I can do? Am I doing the best that I can with the resources that I have? I also take into account that if I'm not well, these kids will not be well. My family won't be well because at the end of the day, you cannot pour from an empty vessel. So for me, my self-care journey has become just as important as managing the expectations because at the end of the day, if I feel like I'm in a healthier space mentally, physically, then I can better do my job and not define myself in the roles of whether I'm being successful as an educator in that moment or not.
So, Jazz, first, I'm so sorry to hear about your dad passing.
Thank you.
And in the midst of this pandemic and everything that you stepped into, what you brought up a lot of different things that I kind of want to tease out. One thing that you talked about was the over identification with our careers and this idea that we are our job. And that really does lead to a lot of confusion about who we are because we can't control the things that happen at work, right? You get a new assistant principal in your case, or principal, or a new director, or anything, and then the job changes. And so when your identity is tied to that, then there's this confusion all the time. There's this confusion. And so what I'm interested in, and Andrea and Latasha, maybe you can help us out, is how do we step into separating that? Let's separate what we do from who we are. How do we do that as Black women?
Well, I'll chime in and I'll say that, that is very difficult. It is really difficult. My journey right before the onset of the pandemic kind of forced me to have to think about that separation piece, right? And so right as the pandemic was starting, I had just become a survivor of breast cancer. Recently went through all of this traumatic experience that really shifted, my thinking, how I showed up for myself, how I showed up for my family, the importance of my mental health versus my physical health. It was really groundbreaking, which forced me again into that corner where I had to say, how do I separate the two in order to make sure that I'm going to be healthy enough to still be here? Right? That when you get impacted by a disease such as cancer, it highlights so many things for you, right? And through that journey, you have more time to sit and think. You have time now for yourself because you have to make sure that you get well. But that is something that is sometimes forced upon people. So it's hard to separate the two. I think having boundaries at your workplaces, boundaries within your family, setting also boundaries just for yourself, for that self-care piece is critical. It's really critical because then that way you provide space for you to be able to heal, for you to be well for others in order to care for other people. I had to put a number of different systems in place, right? I was a person that always said yes. I had to learn the importance of the word no. right? No, I just can't do it. It doesn't work for me right now, right? In this setting. And even when it comes down to the work life balance piece, right? How do you say no to your supervisors, right? You have to figure out how to be firm, how to be kind, how to be respectful. And you have to put yourself out there and say, this is what I'm dealing with right now. And I'm actually going to need the space in order to be able to carry these things out. I think prior to this pandemic, I never thought about saying to people, what's the priority? Is the priority this or not? Right? Working in the community was so impactful during this COVID time. It was so impactful. I also had to remember that I could not carry stress with me. Stress is a trigger, right? That's a trigger that starts to hurt the heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you start affecting the heart is now connected to the mind, the body, and the soul. And then you start to drain yourself and you leave yourself open to other opportunities for other things to then play a negative part into who you are.
Mm-hmm. I love what you said. And so it sounds like what you're saying is, it sounds like all of you are saying is to live from within to without, right? And this has to be solid in here for anything out here to make any sense, and anything out here to go in a direction that is beneficial to you or other people. So it starts from in here. And you also said about the time, taking the time to sit with yourself, with who you really are and how you really feel, right? Not this whole superwoman cape that they put on us. The most educated group of women on the planet. We walk around with that and we carry that. And to put that down and say, this is who I am and this is how I feel, and how that being so key and so important. Andrea, I didn't, because I'm looking at both of y'all like, I already called Latasha. Andrea, did you want to add?
Yeah, you actually mentioned some of the items that I just wanted to highlight that Latasha noted. But I would just sort of define it in or two words: self-awareness and transparency, right?
Mm,
And we think about transparency a lot outwardly, right? I'm going to be transparent when I speak with this person. I'm going to be transparent with my loved one. But the transparency coming from your awareness internally is huge. To be able to sit in that space, as Latasha mentioned, right? And to be able to say, I need to understand who I am in this circumstance, this situation, what I'm in right now, or what I'm maybe not in, but the fact that I am not well, I'm stressed, and take a moment to be able to be self-aware of what you're feeling mentally, emotionally.
mm,
I think we can't stress enough physically, right? Because the three are intertwined. And then be transparent with that. And that shouldn't just stop with you. Again, to highlight Latasha, I'm going to be transparent and say, wow, Andrea, you're burnt out and you're not well and you don't feel well. That needs
mm,
to also then go outward to those who are my loved ones, right? And I need to be able to say, this is what's going on with me right now. And this is how you can be supportive to that. That doesn't stop with just home. That stops in with other individuals that you have a relationship with, in addition to workplace, right? How do I have that transparent conversation with my employer to be able to say that this is what I need and this is what's going to be helpful for me ultimately, right? And essentially to be healthy and do what I need to do and have been doing well for those around me. So it starts with self-awareness and transparency.
thank
Can I
you.
add on to that for a minute?
You
Please.
sure can. I was just about to dig into your statement a little bit more. Go ahead.
Well, when they both said sit with yourself, I will not lie to you. If we're going to be under the lens of being transparent for a second, I'm like, because the thought of sitting with yourself and being honest, sometimes that is so scary. Like when you talked about how sometimes you don't even know what to do with time alone.
Yes.
Last week, my kids had to go to school because the schools were open here, but we were off for Lunar New Year. And I had to call my husband. I was home alone and literally did not know what to do with myself. Like I find that when I'm still, you get into headspace where you're starting to process, well, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. I'm supposed to do this. Who said you're supposed to do all that stuff? Who said that you cannot sit still and binge watch This Is Us? Who said you can't do that? Who said you can't, meditate for an hour? Who says that you can't do kickboxing for an hour? Who says you can't make something or just sit in your nothing box?
Mm-hmm.
Who said you can't do that? So I find that I can't speak for a lot of people. I can speak for myself. A lot of the cape wearing is not just what society puts, it's what I tell myself I can't do. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be out there doing something with this time. You need to be more productive with this time. And so sometimes sitting with yourself is being honest to say that, hey, number one, you can accept help. Number two, you can ask for help. And number three, the world will not fall apart if you don't do something someone asked you to do.
And I think what we have to be aware of is a critical voice. And that's a concept in mental health that I want more people to understand. It's when we have internalized this criticism of ourselves. And we actually walk around with this inner critic telling us, oh, why are you sitting down? Go wash the dishes. Go clean out the tub. What you mean you tired? You're not tired. What? Go do something. And whose voice is that? Everyone has it, that critical voice that tells us we are not enough. We're not enough. We're not doing enough. We're not working hard enough, right? We're not carrying our cape well. We're not wearing it right. Latasha, can you tell me some more about your expectations of being perfect? You talked a little bit about it. How did you push back? Really, what language did you use to push back?
Once I sat with myself, it gave me the space to really do more research about finding out how do I come back from this, and how do I set myself up for success, and what does pushback look like? And I think for me, I'm always a person that brings joy to a room, and I always felt like I had to light it up. I think coming back and pushing back was silence. Some of it was just being quiet in a room where people were waiting for my reaction so that they would know how to respond or how to show up. Sitting with that, giving other people the opportunity to take the stage, actually passing on a few projects and stuff that I may have wanted to do, saying to my husband, you know what, no, you can make the decision today on what it is that you would like to do, right? Bringing my kids into the conversation and having them, right, giving them rules and responsibilities and chores and things of that nature. That was the change of not only the language, but the actual practice was something that I was working on. I think being more open to my family, and that was one thing that I really wanted to walk away in this discussion, was how do we bring our families into this, the communication piece around sharing what is happening. When you talked about feelings, right, being transparent with my family members about how I was feeling in the moment when I came out of it, and where am I at now, right, and the roles that they could play. As we mentioned, right, taking that cape off and saying, you know what, I don't have to have on a cape. I can have the same t-shirt on that everybody else is wearing. And I can still know that I'm that inspirational leader. Folks will follow you, regardless if you have the cape on or not. It is your presence. It's what your aura that you bring to a space.
Absolutely. So I want to get into the stats that I did not know. And I have them written down because I want to read them out specifically because I'm blown away. Now, the one that blew me out, and Andrea, I see you looking like, how you did not know this? How did you not know? 1 and 2, Black folks and Hispanic folks have heart disease. 1 and 2. So it's 4 of us sitting here, right?
That's right.
So that means out of the 4 of us, 2 of us have heart disease. 2 of us, healthy, well, loving, dedicated Black women have heart disease. Now, it also says only 36% know this, and I wasn't a part of the 36%.
I wasn't either.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Andrea, please, why? What are the barriers to Black women having access to this vital information?
Yeah, I would say, so let me first say, I only became aware of this 8 months ago. And that was only because of my personal health concerns. If I could just take a couple of seconds and sort of kind of talk about what my journey looked like. Probably maybe the last 2 years, feeling heart pains, or I should say, let me say chest pains, right? And coming from a Caribbean culture, you call it little chest pains, drink tea. right?
Mhm.
That's a common language and common statement. Drink tea, you'll
Mhm.
feel fine. I did that for a period of time, went to a doctor, and I go to doctors annually, as you mentioned, Aisha, with no concerns every year, right? Never heard of any of this
Right.
information, never had any additional concerns. Went to the doctor. He reported, it's okay. But, if you want, you can do a stress test. I'm thinking, maybe I don't need to. I was an athlete. I'm fine. Went to another doctor just to kind of get a second opinion. And I actually went to a cardiologist. And he said, maybe you should probably do a stress test. There were some concerns with him putting the paperwork in timely. And so I wasn't able to do it the day of and end up going to another doctor. And he said, I think you really should go to do a stress test based upon what you're saying. I ended up doing a stress test. They could not even complete it before they sent me straight to the hospital due to the response that my heart was providing. To this day, we are still trying to figure out what is causing the chest pains and the fast heart rate that I'm having. But one of the things that I think is huge about this piece, and I think you mentioned, Aisha, why is it that we don't know this information, right? And it's one of the things, if you even look at research, there's no specific thing that we can land on as to racial disparity, other than the fact that there's a foundational fabric of racial disparity throughout everything that we touch or see, right? Education, where we live, uh, I think schools, but health does not separate from that. Health is a huge piece to it. So, why is it that a woman as myself, who goes to the physician every year, has never heard any updates about my health, have never heard, this is something that occurs with Black women. These are the things I want you to be mindful of. And I don't really have an answer to it, but I think one of the things that I do have an answer to, as far as us as Black women, is how do we then just ensure that we are reclaiming our health, right? Reclaiming
Yeah.
what we should be able to be advocates for first. And the first thing is being aware of your mind, being aware of emotionally, and being aware of what you're feeling. See, I felt a
Mhm.
lot of these things for 2 years, but one of the things that we don't know is when you're feeling chest pains, or you're feeling it consistently when you're not feeling well, or even when you're dormant, those can be signs of heart concerns. I've never heard of that before, right? Again, being in the culture that I'm in, I have only heard you have a little chest pain, drink tea. It's probably just
Mhm.
gas, right? So these are
Mhm.
things that we've heard. So I would say I don't know if there's one particular reason why we don't know these things, but I think the response that we as Black women should have is being in a position of reclaiming it and being our first advocates to our health beyond anyone and everyone else.
I love it. What you're saying to me is that you are an athlete. And
Mhm.
so the idea of heart health, like I believe the image we have in our mind is like it doesn't match an athlete. I know it's not that. I know I don't think about an athlete if I think about heart disease or a
No,
very healthy, I don't think about that. But
absolutely.
what you said is key is our body is speaking to us.
Mhm.
Every day in every way, our body is speaking to us. And so often we turn that voice down and we turn that critical voice up, and then we don't get the help that we need. And so when the body is speaking to us, we have to listen. We have to listen, and we have to go and demand that we get the health care that we need, period.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
And I love that you didn't stop. I love that you kept going and
Mhm.
saying something is wrong. I need help. Somebody's gonna tell me something today
Mhm.
because I'm reclaiming that thing, right?
Absolutely.
I'm reclaiming it. So, Latasha, did you know these stats about health disease, heart disease?
I did not know, similar to you all, in doing the research as we were preparing for this, went in deeper to really understand. I mean, we all represent, Go Red, you know, through our, auxiliary organizations and stuff.
Hmm.
But no, I didn't know. And I was so surprised, right? To learn. I think the one that really stood out the most to me was, around the 1 in 2 Black and Hispanic, women, 1 in 2. I mean,
One and
I
two.
felt something just now when you said there are four of us on the screen,
Hmm.
somebody on the screen. is going to deal with that. It's dealing with that internally, right? And not even aware. So I'm thinking now about the chest pain that I might have experienced, right? Do I continue to put the T on it, or do I become an advocate for myself and saying
Right.
to my doctors, we need to look a little further, right? And that goes into that piece of that I talked about the communication piece, and then how do we share this information with our family members so that we can ensure that others are also getting this valuable information. This
Yeah.
platform was extremely important today.
Wasn't it? And it's so inspiring to
Yes.
think that a national organization like the American Heart
Yes.
Association, that they really see us, that they validate us, that
Oh,
they held this space for us,
yes.
for us. That is so powerful.
Mhm.
Jazz, you didn't know either, huh?
I did not, but I also am guilty of, you look at the things that have impacted your family personally in the past. So, we have a strong history of breast cancer in my family. So breast cancer is always the one thing that I'm always looking out for. Oh, I had two aunts pass away. I have another
Mhm.
aunt that's a survivor. But you don't think that there may be other things that will affect you that didn't necessarily affect your family, but could affect you. So
Mhm.
it's pretty.
So that, oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no, no. I was done.
So that plays a big part of it as well, is that we're only looking this far and when we think about health and what concerns and what's going on for us, but going to the doctor, asking for those tests, and now that we know, and it's important that we pause and that we acknowledge that one and two, just like Latasha said, and looking at which one of us actually has heart disease on this panel right now. And so the key with the time that we have left, we have to discuss how do we get moving? How do we get our mental health and our physical health on board? And it has to be every day. It can't just be during Black History Month, right? It's like we don't tolerate nothing during Black History Month. Don't ask me nothing extra because I'm not doing it. It's Black History Month. So, how do we even incorporate taking care of ourselves, getting moving, getting active, and keeping that mental health together? Latasha, I'll start with you as a breast cancer survivor. How do you be active and keep that going?
I'm very active now, right? And active,
Mm,
sometimes when you say active, people think it means you have to be in a gym. You don't necessarily have to be in a gym, right? You can create activity anywhere you are. In my workplace, there's an elevator and there's stairs. I take the steps, right?
mhm,
I take the steps every single day. Other things that I'm doing is I'm tracking my stressors. I'm tracking the things that I know that trigger me and bring me stress, and I try to keep that stuff to the side. I'm
mm,
intentional about what I put in my body. That wasn't what I did before, right? Learning things, right? I also consider like how I model for others, right? You want to be around people that are doing the same thing that you're doing. And sometimes you have to be the trendsetter, right? So you set
mhm,
the trend that attracts the right people to be around you. And then you have a community, a smaller community, and you're all doing it together. It feels safer, right? It feels like you have other people supporting and you're supporting other people. And then I tap into to support around things, right? I have to say that I'm a person that now I ask for help. I ask for help. I didn't do that
mhm,
before because I was
mhm,
superwoman. I got this.
mm,
I learned the hard way,
mm,
right? It wasn't until I had to
mhm,
sit with myself.
mm. Thank you for that. That Jazz, I see you feeling in your chest. I felt that one too.
To
I
sit with
felt that one
yourself
too.
every time, it's like, oh.
Yes, you feel it, right? Even though we're virtual, that energy, you
You
can
do.
just feel it when it's powerful. Andrew, what about you? How are you now physically active and prioritizing your heart health?
So, if I can just say, everything Latasha mentioned are things that I have actively inputted, but I'll just
Mhm,
add two additional things, and she already alluded to one of them. I am a person that I start work at 6:30, and whenever I end, I end. So sometimes that would be late at night. My
mhm,
completely changed my schedule. In addition to that, during my lunch, I take a lunch that is in my schedule. I never used to do that. It was
yes.
optional for me before. It is no longer optional. I take a lunch and I get up and I walk. I make sure I'm not sitting at the desk where it can be tempting to respond to an email, to be able to go on and
Mhm,
do a last minute project. And then lastly, this is a big thing because I do this with my staff and I'm a believer of it, not just professionally, but personally. Um, I do what some people may call debrief, right? At the end of the day, I take a look and say, how did you feel today? How was work today? How did you feel in regards to any conversations or communication you've had with family or friends, to assess just whether or not I felt some things felt a little bit too stressful, or you did a little bit too much, Andrea, or you outstretched beyond what the capacity you stated you would have before. And that helped and has helped and still continue to help tremendously, because then it dictates, okay, you have to do something a little different tomorrow, Andrea. Okay, what do you need to do? So those are just a couple of additional things that I make sure that is part of my day to day, to make sure I'm still moving, not just physically, but also emotionally.
I'm so happy that we had a moment to sit and talk as women and to connect with each other. We are definitely running out of time. I want to really thank all of you for being here and for being so personal and for being yourself and for being vulnerable. Jazz?
I just wanted to add something else in terms of the fitness aspect, if I can just really briefly. One thing I find is that if you're always looking for an opportunity to have time to work out, you're not going to. And so for me, one of the things that helped me to make sure I get my fitness in is making it a scheduled appointment. And so that's the one good part about COVID, is that it opened up a virtual world of things and activities, things that you can do. One of the organizations that, I follow closely is Success in Motion for You. And they offer all types of activities for teachers, things like craft making, things like workouts, yoga. And even if you're not a teacher, there might be some platform that you can follow that will help you to find whatever it is that's your thing. Even if you need to just find a therapist, whatever it is that you need to do, you make it a scheduled appointment at 7 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it with them. I'm going to do it here or there, whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that your mental and physical health is intact. Because if you don't, and you're waiting for that opportunity for it to happen, it just won't. And then here you are trying to fix it after, you're closing the barn door after the horse already left. You have to be proactive with trying to prevent getting to that place before it even happens.
I'm so happy that you mentioned Success in Motion. I'm so happy to work with Success in Motion and partner with them. And they actually have live classes every Saturday. This Saturday of this month, Black History Month, the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th, there's a meditation. So if you go to the American Heart Association YouTube page, you will be able to participate with Success in Motion. And with the time we have, let's really, really focus once again, just like Andrea said, we're being nice to ourselves first. So within and then without, we're prioritizing ourselves before we prioritize anything else. And big shout out to the American Heart Association for seeing us, repping us, giving us the space and this opportunity. This Black History Month, reclaim your well-being. Reclaim it, honey. We're not asking. Nobody's being nice. We're not asking. We are reclaiming that thing, right,
That's
ladies?
right.
We are reclaiming it. I see this red. We are focused on our heart and we are feeling well. Go enjoy your day. Be yourself, love yourself, and take care of your heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.